Hello, and welcome to that Eurovision podcast, Eurovision with a slice of life. My name is Rory, and I'm not doing too bad today. It's a bit cloudy and a bit rainy here, which is kind of a bit nice because we've had a bit of a heat wave for the past week, and honestly, I think my body and my garden kind of needs the bit of a refreshment every now and again. And joining me.
Jazzi, I can share the sentiment. It's a little bit cloudy and a little bit rainy, but unlike Rory, we haven't had any rain for nearly 3 months, so it was definitely needed. And yeah, I haven't really been out today because again it is raining. But hopefully the air starts to break up soon because even though it is a little bit cooler, the air hasn't really broken up here.
I love how stereotypically British this podcast is. Come on, and we immediately start talking about the weather.
Not always about weather.
We've been too conditioned to the British way of life.
Anyway, hi, it's Rosie. I am exhausted. I've had some very, very long days at work doing both projects and trying to mark my students' essays, which is finally done. If you ever want your lecturers to be crying at midnight, please try not citing your sources, because that will do it. As far as the weather goes here, it's also very grey, very cloudy and very rainy. I am not enjoying it, especially because it's really heavy feeling, and it's one of those sorts of weather. It's almost like you can sort of feel that it's desperate to rain and it really wants to even storm, and it feels horrible until it breaks and you get that rain and you get that storm, and then suddenly everything feels good again. So
it's just
waiting for that.
Here.
Okay then, Tim here. I've been very productive today. Even though I woke up at 10 minutes to 9 before work, I'm like, quickly shower, wake yourself up. But it's not that bad, and it's nearly Friday, so yay!
Yay!
Can't wait for the weekend. But yes, I'm very much looking forward to recording this episode because I actually do like this country, and I've liked, let's say, about the recent entries as well, so I can't wait to delve.
I know. Giving clues, I like it. But I mean, it seems almost relevant to talk about the weather and the extremities of our own weather when this country has such extreme weather patterns itself. And in this episode, we're going to be talking about Iceland. And Iceland actually debuted in the contest in 1986 with the band Icy and Gleðibankinn, I think. I'm terrible with pronouncing Icelandic names. I'm very sorry. And unfortunately, Iceland has never actually managed to win a contest, despite trying several times and having various fortunes. They've come second twice in 1999 and in 2009. And yeah, so, I mean, just to sort of kind of kick things off, like what are your sort of favorite Icelandic sort of entries?
I mean, I've delved this in my robbed entries, but there's a couple actually. First one was in 2017. I really like Svala's paper and the lyrical depth of cut right through, stuck like glue to you, and the way that she said that, the meaning that she said on the song. And the other one would be, of course, my favorite, Greta, and Hear Them Calling, because it's my most robbed yet I'm so still annoyed entry that did not qualify, and I'm still not going to forgive Europe and the jury for
that. How dare they? How dare they?
Through Iceland's participation, they have been in my top three times. That would be in 2003, Birgitta and Open Your Heart, 2012, which is also Greta and Jonsson, Never Forget, and in 2019, where they were my winners, is Hattari and Hattrick Munsikra.
Nice.
I'm also a huge Hattari fan. Hattrick Munsikra is fantastic, and they are one of the bands that I've actually followed since the contest. I've seen them live. They are wonderful. And Nesla Trans is an amazing album that I have really enjoyed. Other Icelandic songs I really like. I had a bit of a Twitter thing the other day in that I really, really like No Prejudice, and I think if that song doesn't make you smile, that you have no heart, because it's so sincere and lovely. I also really liked Coming Home by Johnny's Friends, and I love the story behind that. I think it's really beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, that song, like, that, I mean, I saw that in Dusseldorf in the arena, and, like, at the time I didn't necessarily understand, like, the whole idea of it, and then I started reading on the background behind it when I got back, and honestly, it made so much more sense why it was a bit, like, it felt so heartfelt in the arena, and I kind of didn't understand why at the time, but then once I got back and I read up on it, it kind of gave it a whole new meaning, and I think that's so, like, it's so lovely, you know. Other kind of favorites. See, the thing is, I love the Icelandic music scene in general, but when it comes to their choices for Eurovision, they're very hit and miss.
Quite.
Like, sometimes they're like, oh, yes, like, this is exactly what I needed. But then other times they just like, completely miss the mark. So, like, some of my favorite entries would obviously be, like, Johanna, Is It True? I think if Rybak wasn't such a favorite, I think it would have definitely stormed it in the televoting, I think, because I think everyone's a sucker for an emotional ballad, let's be real. And then as well, Hera Björk as well with Je ne sais quoi. Absolute bop, absolute banger, although the music video for that song did kind of make me question whether or not Hera's mental health was all right at the time. Because, okay, let's just try and drown ourselves with a big giant dress, like, yes, that is exactly what we need.
I mean, Duncan Lawrence tried it for Arcade and it worked, except without the giant dress or anything.
And I think
anything at all.
It seemed to work for him. So I think the best thing, I think the moral of the story is swim completely naked, and then that will translate into votes. I think that's it.
I like how he was, with Duncan, he was actually saying that he was proud of it. He's like, if you're wondering, it's mine.
Well done. Very well done. Shout out to Duncan Lawrence's ass, guys.
Yes, Duncan Lawrence, step on me.
Oh, well, I mean, honestly, same. No, as well, I really like, this might come a bit of a surprise, but I really like Euroband as well, This Is My Life. I think that was really underrated in 2008, and especially in such a year when it was filled with sort of joke entries. I think that, like, should definitely stood out for, like, the right reasons, I think. But yeah, there are some songs though that I think definitely hit the mark in the right way, but then other times just like completely miss it, you know. But I think, like, even just sort of looking at like sort of the last few years of like the Icelandic selection, I think it's good that they have this rule in Söngvakeppnin. If you don't follow the national selection, I think it's only fair you know. In the semi-finals, there is a language rule implemented, which means that they have to perform their song in Icelandic, and then if they make it to the final, then they can perform it in the language that they would prefer to send it to Eurovision. And I think it's kind of nice just to have that kind of sense of national pride, I guess, in your own sort of language. I think it's kind of nice, you know, because you wouldn't really hear these kind of languages any other place, would you?
No,
I think it's great, though I think it can sometimes sort of not necessarily put acts at a disadvantage, but it can sort of feel a bit sort of self-serving. Like, I think there's an interview with Dathi Freyja where he says, yeah, the Icelandic version's lyrics are complete nonsense because the song was written in English, and how the lyrics in the Icelandic version were about his band all like descending from space or something like that. So I feel like there's
Like,
I feel like it's a really great way of doing things from a language point of view and a general perspective, but I feel like sometimes it can kind of feel a bit sort of language for the sake of it, by enforcing it rather than necessarily sort of letting it happen in the language that feels the most organic to the song.
like I've got the impression from the interviews from Daffy is that he doesn't really like the Icelandic version of, and that's fair enough. But if they want to sing in English, I think they should be allowed to do that in the semi, because obviously that was what's going to give them the best chance of qualifying through to the final. Because like it could have, like his Icelandic version, albeit everything turned out all right, could have led to him then queuing if like the lyrics in Icelandic actually make no sense, because obviously most of the viewing audience speak Icelandic.
Yeah. I think obviously he just had to kind of come up with something in order to kind of take part, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think that is exactly what he had to do.
And I mean, I think correct me if I'm wrong here, but obviously Daddy Freyr had competed in Söngvakeppnin in 2017.
17.
Yeah, with Is This Love? And it kind of was the same situation in that sense, as in he had made the song in English, but he had to just kind of throw something together for Icelandic, like for the Icelandic part. Luckily for him, though, I think that was like a bit like the Icelandic version was just as much of a hit as the English version was. But I think that's part of the reason why Daddy Freyr had such a big sort of like fan, like kind of cult personality kind of thing going into Söngvakeppnin in 2020, because like people recognized him and actually thought, oh wait, this guy's good, you know? Yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but he came second in 2017, didn't he?
I think he did, yeah.
Okay. So,
Yeah.
like, he was well known for being, like, a runner-up among the fandom then.
Yeah. I think that it's kind of funny, though, because I was watching an interview that he had done, and he actually said that him participating in Söngvakeppnin in 2017 was actually just a bit of a joke. Like, he just threw it in at the last minute and wasn't expecting to, like, do that well. So then when he came in 2020, he actually had focused on actually making sure that he was going to, like, put together, like, a really well-rounded song. And obviously it just seemed to do really well for him. So kudos to him, honestly. But yeah, I mean, what do you usually think of, like, Söngvakeppnin as a sort of final kind of, as like quality of songs and sort of the high level browness of it all, I guess you could say. Do any of you watch Söngvakeppnin?
I've watched it once. In 2019.
This was my first year following.
Oh.
And I didn't watch it, I just listened to the songs.
To be fair, for the 2020 version, we were at Manchester Calling.
We were.
That's very true. We were at Manchester Calling when it happened.
So I did watch in 2019. And I did listen to the songs in 2018 and 2020 as well. I find a lot of their songs in the national final anyway are a little bit safe.
Okay.
Like, albeit they probably have sent the best song there for what will do the best at Eurovision, bar 2018.
Oh, Ari.
Oh, bless his little face.
It's okay, and I think the song is quite nice. However, it was very safe, and I think nowadays safe does not get you results in Eurovision. It probably would have done 10 years ago. It won't now.
Controversial. I like it. Ooh.
Yes. So, however, in 2019 and 2020 actually wasn't as safe as what previous years had been. And I do think that is the Hattery effect, obviously, because they did quite well at Eurovision. So in 2020, a lot of the entries in their national final weren't as safe as we'd seen in previous years. Like, because we had, I can't pronounce it, Oculus Vida. It was a big opera.
Oculus
Oculus
Videre.
Videre.
I was absolutely on the hype train for that song. I love that sort of thing. That absolutely gets me. I am still slightly sad.
I thought it was stunning and beautiful because, like, again, opera is definitely not a safe choice at Eurovision, and like we've seen it do very well, La Forza,
La Voix as well.
Yeah, and then we've seen it do very badly, particularly with the juries. Like,
which I find kind of crazy because like opera, you'd imagine that like they would soak that stuff up, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
But
I won't say Grand Amore did badly, but it did a lot worse with juries than I was expecting it to. And I think it came 9th with the juries, which was not something I was expecting. Obviously, it won the televote, so obviously the televoters get the opera more than the juries do.
That's very true, though. I think, like, obviously with the Oculus Videra, like, I
feel like we'd have got a similar situation.
Yeah.
Where the juries may not have got it, but I think the televote really would have gone for this, because in Semi 2, there was a lot of songs which I found quite safe and quite boring. This would have stood out in Semi 2 to a televoter, I'm pretty sure. Especially in that first half.
Definitely.
Yeah. I think as well, like, if you knew of the story of, is it Iva or Eva, something like that? If you knew her story.
Yeah. Like, she's part Dutch, isn't she?
I think so.
As well as, I know she has some visual impairments as well, and like, it's like strength of her getting through all that, and then still being like this amazing opera singer, and I just think that's really nice.
Yeah, I'm just thinking back to like when you were saying that kind of Iceland goes for safe options. It's kind of true, because obviously if you guys didn't really follow the national selection, like I used to follow it around sort of 2013, 2014 up to about 2016-ish time, and during that time we had songs like Jego Leaf and Potla Punk as well, and Maria Olafs as well. So we it did seem a lot more sort of poppy based, and I think that's kind of, as sort of Europe kind of decided to be a bit more focused about the feeling as opposed to the fireworks, to quote a certain person. I think that's kind of why Iceland started to sort of, its fortunes had kind of started to change around, and I think having Hatari win in Söngvakeppnin, that kind of helped Iceland realize that taking a risk does actually help, and it does make you, it just kind of puts you on the map, really, I think, and it makes you stand out. Like say for example, like, take a look, I don't know if you guys know Paul Oscar from 1997 in Insty Dance. Like, that song is one of the most, I wouldn't say it's one of the most controversial ones, but it was sort of the precursor to a lot of the kind of sex sells in Eurovision, that kind of era in Eurovision. And I think I don't remember how well it did. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think it might have gotten top 10. It
came 20th, because I've literally just got it up on my page right now.
Oh, okay.
And it did perform straight after Love Shine a Light.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, fair enough. Yeah, that was going to vacuum up points every now and then, wasn't it?
Wasn't it quite jury-centric, though, in 1997? Like, only a few countries actually had a televote.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
Like, I could see a televote going for it, but I don't know if I could see a jury going for it, especially when, even 23 years ago, I feel like juries and stuff were a lot more conservative with stuff, and I'm just not quite sure a jury would have appreciated it at all.
Yeah, I mean, just like casting my mind forward a little bit to Hungary 2009, I mean, that came stone dead last in its semi-final, and that was like sex on a stick as well, wasn't it? Come on, dance with me. But
I think I've listened to it once and didn't think it was a particularly good song either. But
don't worry, it wasn't. But no, I think Iceland just needs to take a risk, and I think that's why 2020 was a bit more like it got a lot more people involved, I think, and after Hatterie's risk taking, and it had a lot more people watching it, and I think that's and like even just in like the songs, like they had like you had sort of pop, you had ballads, you had Daddy Freyr, you had Eva, like you had like a load of different styles of music, and I think if you just kind of carry on with that, I think that would do really, really well.
Look, they got a result last year. I think had 2020 gone ahead, they'd have got a result this year. I think it's just keep taking those risks.
Yeah.
I honestly think they would have won this year. I genuinely do. I think they had such a sort of hype train behind them, and I can't see any of the other songs that we had this year getting the same response from both the juries and the televote.
But then
think
again,
we would have had Reykjavik 2021.
But then again, we would have known that you don't have to necessarily win either to actually win the whole thing.
That's true, but I think the other results would possibly have been more split. So I feel like there are a lot of songs that would have done well with the televote but not with the juries, or well with the juries and not with the televote.
Yeah. So like Russia doing really well with the televote and then tanking with the juries, for example.
And then reverse it for Malta.
Yeah.
Because Malta have a history of just not doing very well with the televote, although I think they probably deserve to this year. Again, I'm kind of still in the frame that Malta probably would have won, just simply because it's so jury friendly that I think, and I just don't see a televote not getting behind Destiny. But again, Daddy did have the big social media following. I think we can argue the two forever. And
we always will be, because this is what the Euro fandom does.
Yeah. We just constantly outrank one another, and that's it.
All we do is rank stuff and cancel people occasionally.
Actually, though, looking at like 2020, for example, like Daddy Freyr has actually done very well out of Think About Things, because obviously it's become a TikTok craze. It's had many celebrity actually sort of tweet in support of it, for example, like Russell Crowe and Demi Moore, I think. And so we've had a lot of sort of big names kind of coming out in support of the song. It's currently number 3 in the Irish charts. It's number 34 in the British charts. And
which is kind of unheard of even for our own entries, let alone an entry from another.
Yeah, no.
For us, it's the highest charting Eurovision entry. I don't know if it's period or it's excluding the British entries, but it's the highest charting Eurovision entry since Victoria.
And that's saying something.
Sorry, which one?
Think About Things.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's excluding British entries. Or
because
I think it might be.
Well, it's one of the highest ones, because I know others have charted before, but for a while, for a few years now, that's the highest it's been, because I think something charting in the top 4, it was like 2014 or 2012 when Loreen placed 3rd.
I think Conchita did somewhat well in the British charts as well, I feel like, because obviously like that song's still like relevant. It still gets played here. But it's kind of strange though, isn't it? Like I wonder what the magic was for Daddy. Like what do you think kind of made the song so popular?
It's sheer wholesomeness.
TikTok friendly. I had to go in there.
Oh yeah.
Like I want to say that it's because it has like its own little dance that is really memorable, but I don't know, because Uno and On Fire had that as well.
But that's why I sort of grouped the 3 of those songs together. They are the sort of male-fronted, upbeat, dance number quirky songs of the year.
They seem to work out well, because they all seemed to be big favourites at the time as well, weren't they? So just kind of...
I feel like they sort of fill the same sort of niche in terms of the general lineup. And I think all probably would have done quite well, because I think they're all quite strong songs as far as the year goes. But I do wonder if they might have split the vote.
Imagine.
Yeah.
And then like a complete outside, well, I say a complete outsider, but someone along the lines of like Switzerland or Bulgaria would just kind of come out of nowhere to just come and win it all because everyone would be voting for somewhat of the same thing. That it would be a complete Cinderella story, wouldn't it? But obviously, sort of Iceland had a bit of a qualifying streak for a while, and then from like 2015 up to 2019, it all just kind of started to go downhill a little bit, which is kind of a shame because a lot of the songs that were in that sort of block were actually quite good. I don't know. Of course, like we had Unbroken, and then Hear Them Calling, and then Paper, and then I think we could all collectively agree that Ari just wasn't going to qualify regardless, but I'd like to hope that...
Not in that semi.
Yeah.
Unfortunately not, and I'm so sorry to all our listeners who are gonna lambast their way at me.
We love him. He's a lovely human being.
He's a lovely
Yes,
guy.
he's-
Bad song. It made him sound like a youth preacher.
I will give him this. He did not deserve to come last overall.
Oh,
There
okay.
were
Yes, I
songs
will agree
in
with that.
Semi 2 in 2018 that it deserved that.
Well,
I would agree with that.
I wonder...
Listen to the Russia episode.
oh, it's gonna be controversial. I
Like
love it.
at least, like I was trying to refrain from saying the R word.
But I think though, like in semi one, it was going to come last anyway. Just I feel
Yeah.
because like that was the semi-final of Death to begin with, and then like I think that was the only one that I think every single person in the Euro fandom was actually able to agree on that wouldn't be able to make it through. Which is a shame though, because he was a lovely
I remember
guy.
watching in 2018, and I don't have the best hearing. And when Ireland qualified, I thought they said Iceland, and I was shocked. But then I realised it was Ireland, and was shocked again. Because I feel like in 2018, people had agreed, as well as Iceland, Ireland would qualify
Yeah.
until they saw the staging.
Okay,
Mhm.
yeah, true. Yeah, I had kind of written Ireland off a little bit that year, but I mean, things change, and I mean, unfortunately, Iceland didn't. So,
Because I initially had misheard them. Oh my
Have you
days.
seen the video of the? I don't know if it's a news reporter or if it's just some random guy or something who's watching it, and he's just getting angrier and angrier and angrier as
Oh.
Ireland doesn't qualify.
Oh my god, yes.
And then suddenly they do, and it's this loveliest thing, and he's so happy. And this guy's in like his 50s or his 60s, and he just has the most sort of lovely moment.
yeah.
I think
Very
was it
happy.
like he was like having a falsetto moment or something?
He was like,
Something like
I
that.
can't believe it, I
Oh,
can't
it's
believe
just-
it.
It's so cute. I love it. I love that video. It always makes me really happy.
Oh, and I mean, it had been a bit of a national shame that we hadn't qualified since 2013. So, you know, when we did qualify in
Should have
2018, like, it was like a complete shock, and we were here for it. Too bad that we had to let the side down again in the next year, but you know, time and a
think
place.
it was
That was Sarah's wisdom teeth. She can't help that.
It was like the shock in 2018 that we weren't expecting, but we were all happy about.
Yeah, and I think it is nice though, just because obviously, like 2018 semi-1, there was like 5 different countries fighting it out for like one spot in the final. So I think out of all of them, I think it was probably the most likely to qualify compared to Iceland, which should have been just terrible. But for a moment, can we just cast our eyes back, cast our minds and everything back to a very, very traumatic time of Sylvia Knight. Ungrateful
Absolutely iconic.
bastards! You people.
I'm not a bleep bleep from Sweden. I'm not a bleep 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 from Finland.
To be honest, I have to commit, I have to say, Iceland is like one of those countries that just like literally sees the contest in a funny way, but also in a serious way, and like just commits to the joke. I love that. Like, literally, like she could have broken character at any point in the whole, like, from when she was chosen to like when she didn't qualify, but she just kept going. And I think that's amazing. And I think we all have to kind of take a moment and just to appreciate how her tantrum of not qualifying will forever go down in Eurovision history as being one of the most memorable moments of like any Eurovision like contest.
I'm just saying, imagine if an act did that now.
She would have been cancelled so quickly. But it's just funny when she's like, and somebody has been telling lies about me, and I think it is you. And it's just like, and I said I hated Greeks, and I said they were ugly, and I never said that, and you are a slut, and I hate you. I can only do two accents, a Liverpool accent and an Icelandic accent, and so I use that at parties wherever I go.
You go to the right parties.
Yeah, only Liverpudlian and Icelandic parties. So if you're from Liverpool or Iceland, invite me to your party and I will have a bear of a time. But just kind of like looking kind of forward, who do you think should kind of maybe go for Iceland in the future? If you know any sort of Icelandic artist. And if I swear to God, if one of you say who I think you're going to say, my heart will, like, skip a beat.
I mean, I'll take Eva back.
Yeah, same.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Just, there are a few sort of classic Eurovision genres where I listen to them, I'm just like, hook me the fuck up, drip this into my veins. And sort of folk opera and opera stuff sort of generally is one of those genres. I'm just like, just give me that stuff. And yes, the more I can have of that, the happier I will be.
And again, it's not a safe, like what we've accused them of in the past, it's not a safe genre by any means. And when opera's done right, you can get the results. And I feel it would be a good direction for Iceland maybe to head in.
Very good, yeah. Although, I would absolutely love it if Iceland's going to take a risk, and if she could even be bothered to chuck a song in, I would absolutely die if Björk went in. If Björk went in to Söngvakeppnin, or even just like got internally selected, I would literally, I don't actually know what I would do with myself. Like
in the meantime, we've always got Hera Björk.
Oh yeah, she's the next best thing. Like we love Hera Björk on this podcast. Like she's amazing.
Yes.
Just the lyrics I told you guys last week, yeah.
For those who may not have known, Tim sent us some lyrics from someone who decided to do a parody of Je ne sais quoi instead.
Well, it wasn't more of a parody. It was more of the fact that it was a family
X-rated version.
It's an X-rated version that this is. Oh, by the way, this is from Hera when I was in Amsterdam calling in 2019, where she said, "Oh, my so and so family member was singing it, but was singing the wrong lyrics, and it was very expletive and kind of spat my drink out when she was singing it in Amsterdam."
And when I see your face, I want to swallow your explosion. I mean, wow. Icelandic people, why are you so dirty-minded, huh?
That is poetry.
I mean, I consider the Brits dirty-minded, but oh my god.
Honestly, we have to stan Iceland for just like... Iceland just really just doesn't give a shit, does it? Iceland's just like, yeah, sure. Let's just say what we want. But, sort of just trying to maybe, like, wrap things up a little bit. Like, what do you think, like, Iceland should do kind of just going in the future? Like, should they kind of carry on with the Hatari realness? Or should they kind of carry on with Daddy? Or should they just go something that's, like, in a completely different direction?
Keep doing what they're doing by taking like these little risks because they're clearly paying off, and just like don't go back to playing it safe because that didn't get you results. This does.
I think as well as taking the risks, also continuing to do things that, I know we've said it a lot about a lot of different countries, either in good ways and bad ways, but keeping doing things that feel authentic to the artist that's performing them. Like, Hatred Munsigra could not have been done by any other artist. Think about things with such a personal song. No Prejudice felt so sincere and wonderful, and Is It True felt emotionally authentic, and that is when so many things all just seem to click right. And so I think if they can keep taking these risks but also maintain the individuality of the artists at the same time and let them express something that feels meaningful to them, then you're on the road to success.
For me, Iceland, I don't have much to say other than you do you and I'll do me.
Not a fan of many Icelandic songs then.
No, it's more of the fact that whenever I always hear the Icelandic entry, I know that they fully have their representatives back. Because Iceland is such a small country, you'd think that, because everyone knows everyone apparently. But with Iceland, you always feel like the support you get from your country, which is something I rarely see on Eurovision. It's like, we've got your back no matter what happens or whatever result you get in
Wasn't it
Eurovision.
something that 97% of the TV viewing audience watched last year's contest there?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And
it's such a big thing. It's just such a, like, everyone watches it.
And yeah, okay, I was on the Hatari hype train. I was absolutely on board, blowing the whistle on that train. But just seeing how engaged the entirety of Iceland seemed to be, like they were going into schools and having kids' choirs singing Hatred Munsigra, and it was the greatest thing. And it's just that sort of enthusiasm and that sort of energy. And I think sort of what we said earlier, taking it seriously, but not too seriously.
Yeah. And I think that's good, though.
Being able to have fun with it.
Yeah. Because, like, the thing is, like we criticize, like, the UK public and the UK locals for having this sort of sense of, like, oh, we only do well when they want us to, and it's all Brexit, so there's no point in us, like, even bothering to try and be serious because we just know we're not going to do well. Like, I think Iceland kind of takes it in the same sense, but they just, like, they still give it a good go anyway. And I think that's something that, like, comes across in, like, their songs. So, like No Prejudice, for example. Like, I don't think any other country could have sent that. Like, if that song was sent by someone like, I don't know, Germany or France or something like that, it would have been completely, like, burned to the ground.
Absolutely.
But having Iceland send it, which is, like, consistently, like, ranked as, like, one of the happiest countries in the world, one of the most, like, liberal and the most sort of, like, it's like a social utopia, essentially. So I think, like, that makes sense. I would really like Iceland to kind of take a risk, and I do think, like, to continue with these little risks, I personally like it when they keep singing in Icelandic, just because we don't really hear many songs in, like, and we don't really hear the Icelandic language that often. So I think it's a kind of nice kind of addition to the song. So, like, say, for example, like Ég og Líf and Hatrid Munsigra. Like, yes, they are the only two songs at the minute that have actually had any Icelandic in it in the 21st century, but they're still very well respected in the Euro fandom. And so I think maybe that should kind of carry on, maybe, almost. Also, I think we just have to take a minute and just say that, like, Iceland just knows how to handle the contest, and given the fact that there's only, like, 350,000 people who live in Iceland on their own, 97% of which watch the contest. I mean, it just shows, like, they care about the contest, and they actually, like, they enjoy having fun, and you know, honestly, at that point, why change that attitude? Because they have the right attitude. And I think that's something that other countries like, you know, like the UK and other Eurovision skeptic countries should kind of follow, you know?
Yeah.
And they've got a population smaller than Stoke-on-Trent.
Oh.
I was having an argument with someone on Twitter the other day, so I wanted to try and find a UK town that had a similar population to Iceland, and Stoke-on-Trent is the one with the closest population number.
Should we all just pack our bags now and move to Reykjavik? Because I am totally on board for that.
I would
Sounds
be on
great,
board
let's
with
do
that.
it.
Yeah, let's go. I mean, Icelandic people, get ready, because you're going to have like 4 people just kind of move over there, and we're going to make your lives very well or a living hell. It's up to you. Oh, dear. So, yeah, that sort of brings us to the end of this episode of That Eurovision podcast. I'd really love to thank Jazzi, Rosie and Tim for coming along on this fantastic journey up north to the cold Arctic nation of Iceland. And yeah, we thank you very much for listening. And of course, if you have any opinions on like what we've talked about, please do let us know in the comments below. We're always intrigued to get a conversation going. And yeah, do follow us on all of our social media as well. We're on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at That Euro Podcast. We're also on Spotify as well, so make sure you follow us on Spotify as well, so then you get notified whenever there's a new episode that comes out. And yeah, in the next few episodes, we'll be kind of continuing on with our country retrospectives, maybe a couple of surprises here and there. So you know, stay tuned. And so, shall we all be saying goodbye then?
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.